Hey, everybody. Welcome. It's Marissa. I am coming. I disappeared. Now I'm back. Hey, everyone. It's Marissa. I'm coming to you live over here. My little house in El Cerrito. Can you see my cute shirt? Awesome. I love this shirt, by the way. And shout out to the Little Hill on Instagram for having awesome shirts. But y'all, I'm coming in today. I'm going to be doing a series of 5 minute kind of like chats. Um, for the next like 30 days. So here we go, day number one. But I'm so excited to welcome y'all. If you are catching this live, drop a little note in the comments, just an emoji or say hi. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. I will answer them. And if you're catching this in the group, hey, if you're catching this later, do me a favor and drop a hashtag team replay. That would be awesome. But y'all, we're going to come in like Monday through Fridays doing a couple videos. Just I wanted to kind of allow myself to reintroduce myself. So I'm Marissa, CEO of Action Fitness and Coaching. And we're a cycling coaching business, and we primarily work with women over 40, but also we have quite a few men over 40. But y'all, I want to know, like, have you been riding a ton? Like, you're putting in the extra time, you're getting extra miles, and you have an upcoming event. Maybe you're doing a race like a century ride or gravel event, because we have a ton of gravel coming up in the next 3 months. Maybe you're doing a cycling trip or like a bike packing trip. We have a bunch of clients who've done like Tour d'Afrique or going to Europe and riding from Munich to Rome, for example. Shout out to Trish. And yeah, so y'all, I just want to know, like, as a cyclist, as a woman over 40, most women like just get on their bikes and ride, right? So listen up. Like, I had a woman come, I think that was last summer, it might have been 2 summers ago, but she's well over 40 and she is 2 feet in with cycling, loves cycling. And she started with us last year, and y'all, she came in to this group with us because she'd been riding her steep hills over and over and over, riding longer and longer miles. And she kind of didn't have that much to show for it, right? Like, I know that feels harsh to say, but in reality, like, for the amount of work she was doing and putting in day after day and week after week, she thought for sure she'd have more to show for it, right? Like, putting in tons and tons of miles. And it got so bad, she was so exhausted and still pushing more and more miles, more and more time, right? And she couldn't keep up with her friends. Like, she was struggling. Sometimes she'd get dropped. And not only that, but her breathing on the hills, and she'd been diagnosed with some breathing issues and just really struggling. But one day, like, she walked into my masterclass on recovery, which we did this time last year. So it must have been last year. And yeah, we did this masterclass last July. So that's what we do in Action Fitness and Coaching. So we'll do like videos, or we'll do, right now we have a show called Coaches with Coffee in the Confident Cycling Collective. So you can hop in there for free. But anyways, she was really, really struggling with this, and she walked into our masterclass and just kind of went, oh. But I'm literally here, y'all, to rid the world of terrible training and information that is dispersed or given to women, and especially like women athletes over 40, or I might call them peri-menopausal athletes. But like I said, I just want you to stop listening to the crap that's out there. Consider what you're reading on the internet and where that resource is coming from, and kind of picking through like traditional versus traditional training plans of like, this is the way we've always done it, so it's the way we always have to do it, right? And then online fads, those happen all the time. And I digress, right? People get stuck in fads. They want to do things that are new. But I'm here to tell you, we didn't know what we didn't know when it came to women over 40 and cycling and training. So this is why I teach the way that I do, right? I'm here. The reason, because so many women over 40 especially like quit cycling, quit athletics altogether, is because, well, we're conditioned to think that we need to work to death, right? We're conditioned that we have to do thousands and thousands of miles in order to get faster. And we're also conditioned to think that we need to work harder, stronger, longer to see a return on our investment in our training, basically training ourselves into the ground. And I'm here to just break that right now. We are not wired that way any longer, right? Once we're over 40, we can no longer train ourselves into the ground. It just doesn't work for our bodies, but I digress. We'll come back to that. I'm here to say that there's a better way, right? I want you to see the gains in a much shorter amount of time. So get faster in a much shorter amount of time and get stronger in a much shorter amount of time. And I want your cycling and your life to be sustainable for you. So not only are you like training for cycling, but cycling, you're training for life, right? You're training for being able to do this into your 80s and 90s if you want to. So I want you to enjoy the training rather than dread feeling terrible or getting dropped on endless climbs, right? I don't want you to do endless rides where you're falling apart, where you just seem to get slower. So this is why hiring traditional coaches out there or downloading the latest kind of cheap programs online, they're missing the mark. I'll even say right now, like some of the really, I'm going to say popular coaches, I get all of their information online. I subscribe to their newsletters, and they're still focused on athletes over 40. They really mean male athletes over 40. So they're talking to masters athletes. They mean male masters athletes. So y'all, we are not small men. And thanks to Dr. Sims for coining that term or phrase, and to really helping also lead the way with a ton of other researchers in focusing on women who are over 40 who are still not giving up being athletic, right? So most of our sports studies and thus our training knowledge that we think we know things from, right, are based on studies that were done only with men. And I'll get into more of that later, not today. But y'all, I mean, I was struggling with fatigue. I had just been working at the gym. This was in like 2016. I just was getting close to turning, maybe it was not 2016. It was 2018 and 2019 when this was happening. So quite a few years ago, but I was just turning 40, 41. And my main challenge was like, I was so tired and I was still racing full time. I was still working pretty much full time. And I had days where I just physically could not get out of bed. I couldn't wake up. My brain fog was off the charts. And I struggled, like trying to teach a 6 a.m. class with brain fog. I don't know. It was awful. And what I realized is there's like an entire generation or generations of women who know nothing about perimenopause. I had no idea what was going on, right? And so there's an entire segment of life that I knew almost nothing about. So especially when it comes to cycling and training and all of that stuff. So I made it my mission from a selfish point of view. I wanted to know, like, what do I need to do to continue to be a cyclist, to race, to fulfill my dreams, right? And I widened that to realize that almost nobody is putting the science into practice. Nobody knew what they needed to know because really women weren't being like studied until about that time. So not to say that women weren't being studied, but in the realm of sports science and physically fit women and cycling and endurance sports for women over 40 and 50. But I digress. Now I'm on a mission to help rid the world of that terrible training and misinformation, and especially for women over 40, because we didn't know what we didn't know back then, and now I think it's really important that we stop this cycle of terrible information. So getting it back to my client who was just struggling, getting slower, doing tons of miles and having nothing to show for it, we started working together around July and August, and she's been putting in the work all winter, now through the spring. Yesterday was the first day of summer. She's coming into her big event in about 2 or 3 weeks. So she is rocking it now. So she went from being exhausted and getting dropped to now setting all new PRs, heading up that hill, doing it more than once in a day. Her nemesis hill, she likes to call it, but doing that hill on repeat. We focus on training in a new and focused way. We train boldly, and that includes strength training as a base for our endurance training, right? We focus on pedaling with power, and we focus on setting benchmarks. We no longer just ride around all the time. We have a structure, and we keep that structure succinct and really focused and in place. And that means you're training less, but you might be training more intensely. And it's all done on a specific strategy. So we're not just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall. In addition to that, we top up energy. We focus on making sure you're eating enough, making sure you're eating the right foods that fuel you the best, and then at the right time to preserve your muscle and to refuel your body. Thinking of your energy as like a gas tank, or probably coming soon an electrical tank, right? Since everyone's going to electrical vehicles. But topping up energy is as important as training at this phase in life. And then recovery is equally important. Recovery as part of training. And that was a whole new philosophy for most folks. So we really focus on recovery as part of training, allowing you to get faster. So now she's actually riding up her hills with more ease and, sometimes faster than her friends. She's doing century rides faster than ever before, recovering her breathing before she gets to the top of those hills, and riding day after day after day after day with more energy, not exhaustion. And she's about to start her big 2-week trip down the Continental Divide. So yeah, it's been really exciting. And this is just one of the clients. So I just wanted to point out that she came with that issue because she was just doing what everybody else was doing, right? But I just want to point out there, it's really important to get rid of that kind of old traditional training advice and know that there is a new way that we need to focus on rather than just doing more, harder, longer, stronger, right? We could talk more about the specifics later, but in this business, in our small coaching business, we really value more diversity, equity, and inclusion in cycling, especially in the coaching realm. Coaching is still, 20 years kind of behind the science. So I really focus on bringing more science-based coaching methods to coaching women over 40, but I also really want more women of color to be enjoying the sport and to really see themselves as athletes when they're out there on their bike. We're ardent supporters of supporting trans women in cycling. And I always say, like, if you really want to save women's sports, then give us equal pay out there on the field, right? Give us equal exposure opportunities on TV. Give us equal races, right? Equal race opportunities. As an example, in the Tour de France women right now, it's only 8 stages, whereas the men get 3 weeks, right? There's so much inequality. If you really want to save women's sports, then let's focus on bringing more equality into women's sports and not like the 0.01% of women who are trans and trying to, frankly, save their own lives through sport, right? So anyways, and to wrap that up, that's about me. That's about our business. That's who we serve. And that's why I'm fired up about what I do. And if you have more questions, drop them in the chat below. I'd love to get a conversation going. As always, we can be found on actionfitnessandcoaching.com. Join our free Facebook group if you want more specific coaching information and to have first dibs on any of the sales that we have going. And y'all, I would love if you're interested in working together, apply. I've got the application link right below. Have a great day, and I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.